Now, the political journalist at the centre of a row over the leaking of sensitive US military information has confirmed that he was mistakenly added to an insecure group chat by the National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. Jeffrey Goldberg has been called a liar and a sleazebag by President Trump for publishing the details of messages between senior national security officials discussing a US military attack on the Houthi group in Yemen. Jeffrey Goldberg says he decided to release the details of the chat because members of the Trump administration accused him of lying. Our North America editor, Sarah Smith, has been talking to him.
Once Donald Trump said there was nothing to see here, essentially, and once Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, and John Ratcliffe, the head of the CIA, all said there's no sensitive information there, no classified information, et cetera. Well, we felt like, well, we disagree, and they're saying that, and we're the ones who have the emails, so the text, so maybe people should see them. You know, they didn't come back with anything substantive. Some of them didn't even answer our queries, and at a certain point, the public interest comes into play, and we felt like the people of the United States should read these texts from their leaders themselves and then make the decision if this was a wise thing to do this on signal.
Are you hearing from people inside the administration as to what the private response is, how much panic there is or is not going on within the White House?
There's a widespread feeling in the White House that Mike Waltz is an idiot. That's the word that's been being used, and that there are a lot of people in the system, in the national security system, who can't believe that he had, I don't know, let's call it such poor telephone hygiene as to do this. And I mean, obviously, there's two levels of telephone hygiene. One is, should you as a national security official be doing this on Signal on your phone? And then the second part is obviously the sort of ridiculous part is like, if you're gonna do it, try not to invite national security journalists into the conversation. There's a lot of people at lower levels in the government who believe that there's a double standard here. In other words, if you're you're like an Air Force captain, or you work in the CIA, or you work for the State Department, and you mishandled sensitive information the way that they've obviously mishandled sensitive information, you'd be fired, you'd be prosecuted. And there is a lot of buzz around that. It's like, what are the standards here for our leaders? And why can't they just say, we made a bad mistake, these are the punishments, these are the fixes, we're moving on. But that's particularly interesting to me, because I think that a lot of people feel that there's a level of hypocrisy here.
Let's speak to our correspondent Merlin Thomas in Washington. Merlin, tell us more about the fallout.
The Trump administration have really sought to downplay and bat away this story, and we've heard a variety of different explanations as to what exactly happened. So we've heard from the Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, that this was a hoax. We've heard from several senior members of the Trump administration that the information shared wasn't actually classified. And we've also heard from the National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz, that this somehow was a technical glitch, that the journalist that was added to the group chat inadvertently and could have been sucked into the group chat. That's what he said. And so it's a real variety of different explanations, and it's not a very coherent message that we're hearing from the administration as a whole. Now, President Trump has said that this is a witch hunt. That is language that we've heard him use to describe investigations into his own actions previously. And he's also sought to discredit and attack the journalist Jeffrey Goldberg at the center of this story as well. Now, Pete Hegseth has denied that this was classified information, and President Trump said that he's doing a great job. But he did say that Mike Waltz, the National Security Advisor, has taken responsibility. So we're seeing a wide variety of different kind of messaging coming out from the Trump administration. But what's interesting here is that this is probably the first time we're seeing the White House kind of on the back foot when it comes to a story. So far, in the first 2 months of the administration, we've seen them using the natural and normal strategy for them, which is to flood the zone. That is to dominate the news agenda, to say that they're sending out executive orders left, right, and center. But this is really a story where they're not controlling the agenda and the story. And so it'll be interesting to see how exactly this plays out.
Merlin, thank you very much indeed.